Okay, so for a basic page, we're going to this is going to be an introduction to what we call content types in Drupal, and this is a pretty important concept to get when creating a Drupal site or maintaining a Drupal site. So what it is, it's a form specific for the content that we're trying to create. So when you're trying to create, let's say, news, it's going to be different than when you're creating just a static page, or if you had like a staff bio or something, we could create pages that have specific fields for a staff bio. But so when you're going to create a page, you're going to start here at content, add content, and we're going to create a basic page. I just saw something I need to make. Okay. Okay, so we're in content, add content, and we click basic page, and then from here we can create a title. So give it a title like my first basic page. And then for the header image, since everyone downloaded images for your background, let's use one of those photos that you didn't use for the background. So you can select any of those images that meet this requirement. So it has to be 1300 pixels by 250 pixels tall, and that's a very short image, but this is just kind of an aesthetic header image. It's not supposed to be like your map where you are trying to give someone information. This is more just for design. So I'm going to select an image for my footer, or sorry, for my header image. And then once it's finished uploading, you'll get an area to insert alt and title text. So I'm just going to put in the title of the page. Really, you should be describing that header image. So like for mine, it would be like epic mountain valley with an awesome lake or something, whatever really is descriptive, because people without eyesight can't see this image, and you really want to give a description, not of the page but of this header image. So you're going to do that, and then the slideshow we're going to skip for now. And now we're our second time seeing the body. So this body field is that WYSIWYG. So what you see is what you get, editor. And all you can start adding content. So if you want to type like a short sentence or something, just put in some kind of content. Or you can do like filler content, like Phil Murray. Oh, this is just images. God. Okay, so there's filler text sites that just generate filler content for you, and some of them are kind of funny. That's not funny. That's just Latin. So we're looking for just dummy content, just to give something in there to placehold. Come on. There we go. Baconism. Okay. So I'm just going to generate 5 paragraphs of meat and copy that. Okay, so I have my 5 paragraphs of meat, and I'm going to paste it in here. Typically, if I'm pasting it from any other source, I want to strip out any formatting, and that goes from a source of email, website, a Word doc, a Google doc, anything, any external source you're going to paste in here. You want to strip out all of that formatting, because it comes with some nasty code, and it can be hard to clean and remove. So I'm going to just use this little paste button. Oh, so mine, since the Google, so what Google Chrome does is all I have to do, and it tells me on your PC it's going to be different. it might not have this. It's not going to have these shortcuts. This is just a whatever. It's what is it called? Google's specific for a Mac shortcut. And so I did a Command-Shift-V, and it pasted all the content without any like gross formatting. And if you, we're going to be, I guess, kind of talking about the WYSIWYG and talking about static pages as well. So to view the source, like if you're familiar with HTML and you want to look at the code, there's this source button right here. And that will show you all the format. And as you can see, it's super clean. Like we just have paragraphs, and that's all we should see is paragraphs, no funkiness. And so now I have all my content in there. And let's just say that's all I want to do for now. I'm not going to format anything. I'll go back and format some. So we're not done just yet. I want to, on the right side, underneath menu settings, click provide a menu link. And what's nice is, let's say you have this nice epic title, this long title. By default, it's going to use that same title in your link title, but you don't have to. Don't feel that you have to use exactly the same. You might want to use a shorter version, because sometimes people get really verbose with their titles, and with a link, like, you really want to keep things clean and short, because you can even use your description for the long version. So like this will be my short link, just to show you it'll still work. And I can change my title independently, or I can change my link title independently from my page title, which is really nice that you don't have to share the same exact thing. You're not forced to. But underneath the parent item, I want to click that. And if I wanted to, I could put this link underneath the footer. Or if I just select main navigation, it would be on the top level of the site. So it would be, I'll show you in one sec. It would be here. So this is the top level of the navigation. So if I select that, that's where it'd be. Let's say we want to, let's put this underneath predictive services, so we can put it in a dropdown. And then below this, we have the URL path settings. You can almost like 100% ignore this panel, because by default, it's automatically going to use your page title as the URL path, which most often that's exactly what you're going to want to do. But if you wanted more manual control over this link, like let's say this is a link that you're wanting to like have the same path as your old site or something like that, or you just want to make sure it's named shorter than your title, kind of like how we have that control over the menu settings, I can uncheck this, and then I can use a path setting, or use my own custom path to make this alias. So for example, I named this as the link title short link, so I could do short dash link. And the reason why it's best to just always leave this automatically handled by Drupal is there's a lot of rules to this. Like you can't use special characters, you shouldn't use underscores, you should use dashes, you should use all lowercase. And so by default, Drupal will do this for you, unless you uncheck this and you want to do your manual alias. So that's why most of the time, let's just let Drupal handle it. So I'm going to let Drupal handle it. But I just wanted to show you, you do have the capability of making this path be whatever you want, but you do want to follow the rules of a path. So just keep it checked. Let Drupal do its thing. And then underneath authoring information, you can leave this by default as is. It's going to use your username as the author, and there isn't any place in the site that we're showing the user or the visitor the author. So this is typically done with a blog, and so like you want to see like author or a blog's authored by a certain author, this would have that capability. But most often, we're not going to have to worry about that. And then underneath that, we have authored on. So for the blog, this is the news. This is the only probably content type that it really matters. So it's always going to be sorted chronologically. So the latest news post or article is going to be shown first. So if you wanted to fake this and like have like post date some articles, you can manually change the author date here. So that is kind of important when you're creating news articles and you want to like do some older articles, that because by default it's going to use the current date and time. So if you want to post older articles, you can go in here and change it to whatever you like. Or you could change it to future dates and unpublish it, and then when it's ready you can publish it and then have the future date. But most often this is used for like if you wanted to create older articles and make sure they're in the appropriate order. Does anyone have any questions about this so far?
You mentioned unpublished a couple of times.
Yeah, I'll show you that in one sec.
All right.
But that's a good question. So, and then the last option is not being used by your Drupal site at all. So promote to front page and sticky at the top. These are Drupal kind of built-in Drupal settings that we can't remove, but Drupal has. But you can completely ignore. Really, the main things that you're going to be wanting to pay attention to is obviously the menu settings, because you have to create a link because people have to be able to find your page. So you need to link that. And then, and that's pretty much it. The URL alias path, I would just have it handled automatically. Author and information and date, typically you're just going to leave that handled automatically. So we have all that set. And then at the bottom left, we have our save button. And right above that, we have published. We're going to keep that checked for now. And then we're going to hit save. Now, hopefully we can remember, since we talked about all this, like, okay, our navigation, our link was put in predictive services. Okay, so we can see by default, it was added to the bottom. And so let's say we wanted to change that. That the order of the short link, we want that to be the very top. How would we do that? Okay, so yep, from here we can go to predictive services, drag and drop, and click save. I'm going to show you one other way. For how I would handle it, I would do it this way. But if you wanted to edit that when you're editing the short link, I'll show you one way of doing it as well. So this is the easiest way, so I would probably do it this way. But another way is underneath this first basic page that we've created, click edit. And one field that we didn't really cover is underneath menu settings, we have weight. So we could do like negative 100. So weight works, if the heavier, higher numbers will be lower, the lower numbers will be higher. So negative 100 should definitely push me. Well, let's just do negative 50, not go too crazy. And then click save. So that should pull me to the very top. Not the most intuitive way okay, so intelligence is. So I guessed wrong. So I guess I have to do a little bit more. So that was probably a negative 50. So I'm going to do a negative 100 to definitely put me above. Okay, cool. That's not the most intuitive way, because then you're going to have to guess what are the weights of other numbers. So if you do know by some chance the weight of your other links, you can do that. But really, I would go to structure, menus, main menu, and then go here and then drag and drop and click save. This is like so nice and easy and simple. Like weights work on really small numbers, like like when we're doing the centers, like that's fine. But like when you're dealing with a bunch of links, like it's kind of tough. So those are two different ways to sort pages. And so we have our header image that looks really nice. We have our title. you can see the URL alias path. So this was automatically created for me. And the other thing to note is, like, if you put in filler words like and, or, there's a couple other ones, it'll remove it to like shorten it. So if you ever, there are configurations to change that, but if you do see words missing, those are just filler ones that Drupal by default will shorten and make it as kind of clean and concise as possible. But so let's make a change again. So I'm going to click edit, and now we have you mentioned publishing. So let's click published. That link by, or the checkbox by published. So it's unchecked, and click save. And then, yeah, so hit save, and then now if we go back to the page, it doesn't look any different. But if we open a window incognito, so if you don't know how to do that, if you go to File and then New Incognito Window, so we're still in Chrome, but we're not sharing, we're not still logged in. So this would be like an anonymous visitor viewing the site. So if we go to that same page, on the site, we can see access denied. So obviously, if you don't want it to be published, you don't want just any old visitor to view the page. So it's working just fine. But the challenge sometimes is finding that content. But since it's published and you're logged in, you can still find it here. It works like it's actually published, but it isn't. So let's make a change. Let's republish this this page again. So we're going to click edit, and we want to go to the very bottom, click publish, and hit save. And if you wanted to quickly check incognito, you should still, or you should now be able to view that page just fine. Are we all on the same page? We have a published page that everyone can see. Yes, no, checking, okay. Are we good? Okay, so we're good. One kind of like side feature on these content types is called revisions, which is really nice. Drupal will create copies of the content, the changes that we're making. So let's click edit, and I'm going to go into my body and make a couple changes. And to do so, I can just like highlight content, and let's click B for bold. And then the next one, let's click the next button, which is I for italics. And the next word, I'm going to make a link, or make a link using that little icon next to it. That's kind of like a keychain. So you just type in a link and click save. So we've done a few changes, but before you click save, at the very top, by default, a revision is created for every change that you do, and you can, like, if you wanted to change that so it's not the case, but it is kind of nice because it's always the time you forget to click a new revision is when you wanted a revision, and you're like, oh, what did I say? What was that paragraph? What did I change? So it's, it's not taking up a ton of file space in the database to make these revisions. So by default, it has a new revision, and it gives you the ability to make a log message. So it's always nice, to kind of audit and keep track of your content changes. So I'm going to just say formatting content or something. So type in a log message. just so you have an idea of what you did, just an indication later on you'll know what you've changed. So enter in a log message and then click save. And then once you're out of there, you can see this tab next to delete is revisions. So let's click revisions. And now the latest one is the one, it even says the operation, like obviously we can't do anything to this one because that was the latest one, but we can see our revision message, and it says, you know, formatted the content in the body. And if we wanted to see these other revisions, I could click on that and it'll show me the content, but that's about it. And other than if we wanted to know a bit more information, that's what the revision log message would be helpful for. But you can click on the revisions to see it. And if you wanted to revert, there's buttons to revert, or if you wanted to delete that revision, like if it was taking up space or something, or you don't ever need that revision for some reason, you can delete the revision. So let's go back and let's edit the content really quickly, and let's just remove those 3 words that we formatted, so it's just completely deleted. And in our log message, let's do deleted. What should we say? Removed first 3 words. So that's our descriptive log message. I'm going to click save and then go back to revisions, and you kind of probably have an idea what we're going to be doing. And let's if I click on this link right here for the revisions, I can see my content. And then if I go back to this revisions page, I'm going to click revert. And then it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to revert? And I'm going to say yes, I'm going to confirm. And then if I go back to view, I can see all my content back where it was. And if I go back to edit, I can see all that content as well.
It's pretty sweet, right? When we make that mistake at Dreamweaver, we didn't back up our page or save it, and post it over, and you gotta go back and fix it.
Yeah, it's completely annoying, like when you're trying to like go back to something that you changed and you're like, oh no, what was it? And so you can revert back, but you can't undelete things. So deleting is very powerful. If something hit the fan and you deleted something, maybe you could ask a server admin to roll back a database if you're doing those database backups, but don't rely on that. So don't delete content. Unpublished content. That's my advice. Is most often that content might be used some way, somehow, and it's not a big deal to just unpublish that content. And you can unpublish it, and then if that link in the navigation's annoying you, you can just remove that link. Of course, only you as an admin will be able to see it, but yeah, let's say, like for example, this basic first page, we don't need it. It's just our demo. We could unpublish it, but we could also, when we click edit to unpublish, let's just go underneath the menu settings and just uncheck that, and then uncheck published and click save. So this is kind of like getting your content to a state where it's not going to be publicly accessible and also not going to be annoying you in this menu. So you're not going to see and be like, I thought I deleted that or thought I unpublished that, because that happens. And if I test again in incognito, I can see that it's not there anymore, just to check. It's always good to check changes because it's safe. And then
If you wanted to add the page somewhere besides the main page, like under one of the other menu items.
so if we wanted to do that, so if we wanted to, so underneath like information, or where would you want to add it?
Sure.
Okay, so it's the same process. So I would just click menu settings, menu link, And then just in this, like this shows me, exposes all of my opportunities where I can place that navigational link. So I could just click predictive services and now it'll be underneath there. But I still need to make it published to be viewable. And then if, like, let's say this is a very low level page that no one really needs to see, but you kind of have to have for like legal reasons or something, and you want to put it in your footer, you can do that as well and just put it in your footer. So you have, the thing is, you can put it in your footer, you can put it in your main nav, but you can't, this little drop down doesn't allow you to do both, but you can pick one and then manually just create another link to it. So it's just one extra step if you ever want it. Like the about, I think the about might be in 2 different places, and so you can pick one that's linked dynamically here, and then you manually go into the footer and manually add that link to the about, to that about page. So now we have this page completely hidden from everyone but us, and so that's kind of a nice way of having that backup. But here's a big problem: how are you going to find it? Because we removed the link, and it's unpublished. So like the front end you can't find it, and the navigation you can't find it. So how are you going to find it? By just, I mean, you can remember the URL, but who's going to do that? So I'm going to show you. We're going to skip along and we're going to go to the content page. So this is a really handy page to be able to find all the content, like content meaning not blocks, but all the pages that you have on your site. So if I click content, and this is kind of similar to that people's page that has like all the people on your site, and you can do bulk operations. So this is all of your content, all of it on one page that you can filter, which is super handy. You can search. So what I can do is I can go in and I can say, okay, I can't remember what it was called, but let's start with, I know it was a basic page. So I could start there and just click filter, basic page, and now I'm viewing just basic pages. Okay, now to make it even easier, I can just, in published status, I can just do unpublished and then click filter again. And now we're viewing just all unpublished basic pages. Bam, I can see my page, I can go edit it, and now I can, if I wanted to, I can make it publicly accessible by publishing it again and adding it to the main navigation or the footer navigation. But this is going to be super helpful for when you're trying to look for content, and let's say it's buried in a bunch of pages, or you just can't remember, bless you, what it was, but you have the ability to use these filters to find content. So you can find content, which is helpful, but here's another great functionality. You can go in here and you can use this bulk operation. So underneath actions, you have the ability to delete content, ignore this, ignore this, ignore this. You can publish content, ignore save content, but you can also unpublish content. So the main thing is you can delete content, you can unpublish content, and those are the 2 main things you'll ever use this action for. But it's really nice if you have like a bunch of old content, you can just go select, 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 select. I mean, there's no limit. So you can select all the content you want to unpublish or delete, select, publish or unpublish. Now we're going to unpublish content. I'm going to click apply to selected items, and then it's going to do all of that for me, and now you can see that it's unpublished. But that's not exactly what I wanted to do, so I could change my mind, go back, and I can see that these are card pages. So this is a different type of content type we haven't talked about yet, and I can see that they're unpublished, and the reason why they're at the top is they're the latest piece of content or page that has been updated. So that's kind of handy as well. So I can change this by going back and now publishing the content, and then it just does it quickly automatically without going through 6 pages and clicking publish, save, publish, save. So it's pretty handy to have, and especially if you have unpublished content, there really isn't an easy way to find that content in the front end. This would be pretty much the only way to find it in the back end is this content page. And again, you can use the search as well. So if you know the title, you can start searching for it. Like it starts with whatever, test, and I found 3 different things that include test. And then from here, I can make changes to that content. So I can click here and click edit, and then make changes to that page. Does anyone have any questions so far? Nope. Okay, so let's.
How's everybody doing? Need a few minutes or carry on? Few minutes?
Do you think a few minutes and we're good for today, or how much do you want to cover?
Yeah, we'll probably take a break here, do one more piece, whatever you were gonna do next, and then call it a day.
We're on day 2 now.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
I just want to make sure. Okay, we're cool. Okay, and that's fine with me. So let's take a little break now.
Yeah,